So in the case of What We Did on Our Holiday, I mean, you've covered pretty much in that interview what the story is. I think it works best when it's doing the frazzled parents and precocious kids stuff that works so well in Outnumbered.
Which is a lot of it.
It is. And the journey at the beginning, when you have David Tennant and Rosamund Pike's character who have separated, but they're pretending not to because they don't want to upset the 75-year-old Geordie, and they're going up the motorway, bickering in the car, and that stuff is unbelievably close to the bone and very funny. If you've ever been any part of a family that has travelled on a long journey with adults in the front, the whole thing about just don't argue, we're not arguing, stop shouting, I'm not shouting, we're just disagreeing loudly, all that stuff is really well done. When it gets into the second third, the narrative takes a sort of an unexpectedly morbid turn, which then takes the drama to some extent into areas in which I'm not entirely sure that the genial nature of the comedy quite knows how to deal with it. There's a moment about 2/3 of the way through when you think this is about to turn into a completely different film, and then it doesn't. It's sort of it goes back to being what it is. I enjoyed it. I went in, I have to say, feeling slightly trepidatious because there are certain traits of movies which come out of ideas that developed originally on television, which often don't transfer very well to the screen, but that central idea does. Rosamund Pike is terrific. David Tennant I thought was very good. Amelia Bullmore does this thing which Amelia Bullmore constantly does, which is stealing she's sort of like playing third or fourth banana and constantly stealing the scene because she's such a precise, angular comedy presence. I mean, she's one of those people who absolutely embodies that idea that the secret to comedy is nothing to do with free-flowing and loose. It's to do with being really, really certain of every single movement. And so generally, all the way through, I laughed. I thought it was amiable, and I thought the family relationship stuff was fun. I think I'm not entirely sure that when it takes a slightly more dramatic, slightly more morbid turn, it quite knows how to deal with that. I understand the thing about opening it out because you're moving from a television show into something which is cinematic, and therefore there's this sort of necessity to broaden the drama. I'm not entirely sure that it manages to do that, but there were moments there that didn't work for me, but there was enough of it that I smiled and I loved. I mean, I certainly laughed regularly all the way through it, much more than I have done in many comedies, and I essentially believed in the characters in that central conceit of the parents and the children having those kind of conversations, that anybody who has been on either side of that discussion, there'll be at least 3 or 4 exchanges when you go, yeah, I know, I've had exactly that conversation.